Hi, welcome to video 15. We're answering the big question, where do I start with my hierarchy? Let's crack on and start. I'm Jaime, CBT and EMDR, ERP therapist specializing in OCD. We've been working for the last 14 sessions building things and understanding OCD. So session 13, session 14, we worked on your building and knowing your compulsions, your safety behaviors, and getting the situations and ranking them that creates the most distress. So the question we hear time and time again in therapy is, where do I start? And that's what we're doing today. So now your hierarchy may be laid out from the bottom to the top with the least distressing item to the most distressing item. And that doesn't mean is you have to start at the very bottom. That does not mean that. In fact, you might look at your list and think, I could tackle this one today, even if it's a 30 or a 40%, even if it's a 60. You might think, actually, today feels different to me and I want to tackle that and I want to do something about it. And that's a perfect, valid place to begin because your mood will fluctuate, your emotions will fluctuate, so you might be ready to do something that you weren't ready last week, right? So there is no a single right answer where you start. Now, there is a guiding principle, right? So you want to remember that when we start ERP, we want to start with something that is challenging and is not overwhelming. Why don't we want to be overwhelmed? Is because there is something called window of tolerance, right? So with the principle of challenging and not overwhelming, it means when we're choosing a task that stretches you to a point that doesn't overflood you. Something that feels doable, even if it is uncomfortable. Because if you go straight to the top of your hierarchy, diving into the most distressing item, you risk burning out, getting discouraged, or reinforcing the idea that the ERP is just too much. And also, breaking news, you are not on a reality show. You're not showing anything to anyone. You start where it feels right to you, so it works for you, right? So challenging and not overwhelming principle, as I mentioned, is the window of tolerance. The window of tolerance comes into place. And think about a emotional bandwidth, right? The zone where you can try to engage curiously, regulated, and while facing discomfort. So if you have these two lines, right, and there is that peak that goes up and down and up and down, right, we don't want to be hyper aroused and we don't want to be hyper aroused, meaning we don't want to be overwhelmed or not overwhelmed enough because it's that middle point where our window of tolerance can tolerate us learning and progressing slowly and slowly. What happens with time is that as you're working without the window of tolerance, this is going to stretch and this is going to change. So yes, you still will be able to build onto that and you will be able to be tolerating more exposure with time. So when you start ERP, choose something that allows you to see how ERP works. So I also follow the principle of setting to success. We want you to set yourself to a point that you can succeed. We want gains. There'll be always drawbacks, sidebacks, there'll be everything because life happens. Now, when we start, we want to be succeeding, right? So when you decide where to start, you say, this is when I'm starting, then you start and you face the situation without the compulsions, without the safety behaviors. And we will lead to real change as long as you are within the windows of tolerance. If it feels too easy and it's, well, this wasn't, then that's hyperarousal. If it's too hard, that's hyperarousal. And it's very important that you are in that window. It will take a bit of practice. We haven't learned how we do these things, all right? So over time, what happens is the distress will come down, as we've seen in the previous videos with habituation, and you learn you can cope. Your window of tolerance will increase. And then you also will learn, because you're not hyper or hyper aroused, you will learn that the predictions that you come, the thoughts that you may had, the OCD throws you, they don't come true, right? And be honest with yourself. You know better than anyone whether you are avoiding a task because it's hard or whether it's genuinely not the right place to start right now. That makes a difference in therapy because we help people to identify this and we work in motivation, right? That's slightly harder when you do it by yourself. So try not to listen to your OCD, that OCD voice in your head saying, no, don't do that. OCD doesn't want you to do that. And you're not here to follow your OCD rules. You've been following them. If you check previous videos, we looked at the cycle, you've been following for long enough, and it hasn't worked. And remember, you don't have to move through your hierarchy one step at a time as well. Sometimes tackling one item makes another feel easier. The hierarchy is a guide, is not a rigid, strict staircase. We want it to be flexible, fluid. Maybe what it felt at 40% feels like a 20, and maybe what it was feeling 20 now it feels 60. So you can do that and those changes. So starting where it's challenging for you, not overwhelming, staying in your window of tolerance, and trust every step you take in this process to be free. So challenging and not overwhelming, within your window of tolerance, and setting yourself to succeed. There's the 3 principles I want you to take today. Thank you very much. Hope this has been helpful. Follow us, subscribe, and like the video, and comment if you want to comment something. Cheers.